Hi, welcome back. This is the Rhyme Board. I'm Laura. Today we are going to be doing a Bob Ross tutorial out of this book. So this book is for oil painting. However, I decided to take a different take on it, and I did this in watercolor. So I'll be walking you through what I did in each clip. So yeah. This is it's called Round the Bend, and this is what I did. So if you want to see how I did it, stick around. Alright, so the first part is the canvas prep, and what this is doing is, and the book he instructs doing this for the whole thing, and it's a black backdrop that I'm painting on. I decided to do this in watercolor, as I said. I thought it would be a real challenge. So I'm just going to be painting this back and forth. So this is the watercolor was a big challenge here. Since it is odd watercolor, and the book is for oil painting. So as you see here, I'm just adding black lines to this for the background trees, and so that is a big part of it. So what I'm doing is adding white again. The first time it blurred, so we're just going over this to make it more effect. I did add a second layer of black, so I'm adding more black lines to get the background trees, as it were, just to kind of give the desired effect that is happening. So it'll look great. Now we're adding blue to blend it out. The white also helped in that manner to help blend it out, since we aren't working with oil, we are working with watercolor. So I'm going into the tree trunk. So in the book it talks about picking out multiple colors to make one. I end up mixing all of them and make this awful nude color. So I'm going in with to make the trees branches with a fan brush, and the green is made with green, black, blue, and a red color. And this was really frustrating to make the branches back and forth, and it was really hard to make it look dry, but make it more like an evergreen. And you'll see me doing this. I tried different ways, and I end up grouping them differently. So that it was a challenge. I made it work. It ended up looking really good once I kind of figured out how to make the branches work on this. So that was real fun. Now I am adding yellow for highlights to the tree branches, using the same effect with the fan brush and also same frustration. I had to let the watercolor dry so the colors wouldn't mix and I would get the desired effects that I was looking for and what was stated in the books. So now I'm taking a mixture of greens and we are making the banks of the river. And I'm going to be doing so by taking a brush and just kind of lightly dotting it and building up the colors. In the book, I was going off the picture and the shapes throughout the pictures and going off by that. So I'll keep doing that for the time being. I will be adding some white and some yellow to the green areas to give them a little 3D and a little more dimension to each one, and just building up the color again that way. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding black to add shadows and definition and to give shape to the riverbank. So I'll be doing the same way I did the grass by dotting it and making it dark and building up the color steadily. So what I'm doing here is just I'm adding bushes to the tree line. I'm doing this by adding a little red and a little yellow to make. So I'm adding white to the background, and this is going to be creating the water. So on camera it looked a lot better and it looked more like the picture, but in person it really looked like it. I had my doubts, but it's supposed to give off a kind of greenish hue, and it does look like that on camera. And I'll be talking about this a little more. I added various greens to the white to kind of give it a little more color and a little more flow to the water. So I am adding
brown and a dark brown to give shape to the riverbank and to define it more, but also give it that like ledge bank appearance, so it doesn't look like the water is completely on top of the bank. So it's kind of cool looking. So yeah, it's just to kind of give it 3D more dimension. So right here is a lighter brown. I will be going in over top of it with a darker brown to help darken it. So I talked about this. So what I'm doing here is adding green and white to give the river a little more of a color instead of the stark white, and give it a little more flow to the water. So it naturally gives it that like kind of ripply reflection. As of here, I am just going along the edge, and I'm just swirling around my sand brush with white to give a little more effect to the water's edge. I did find out that when I read the directions that this was wrong, but we just went with it. It's okay. It turned out fine and dandy. It doesn't matter in the end. So what I'm doing now is I'm adding rocks to the river, and I'm doing so by adding different with different browns and stuff, and just making round oval shapes along the river. I'm also referencing the pictures in the book I have just as a reference guide to where to place them. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm taking the white and I'm kind of thinning it out over top the rocks to give them a 3D effect, to make them look a little more rock-like instead of just ovals sitting on top of the paper. So I will continue doing that. Now what I'm doing is taking the fan brush again with a little more of the white, and as I did along the riverbank, I am kind of swirling it around the rocks to give it that ripple effect. And you guys can't see this, I'm doing hand motions. So it gives it the appearance of more water and flowing water. And so I will be continuing doing this each and around the rocks to kind of give it that appearance of flowing water. And as I do with the rocks, I'm just giving an appearance of moving by adding a little more ripples to the water with the white with the fan brush. So what I'm doing here is we're starting the foreground, and I'm adding the little piece of land to make the bend, and I'm just kind of dabbing my brush back and forth with black to give me a solid base. Now why I decided to do this Bob Ross, make it watercolor, I thought it'd be fun. I like watercolor, and I thought it'd be interesting. I'm not really a big fan of oil. I'm so far happy how this is turning out. So I will be continuing to make this as dark as possible, and just continue to shape the land in kind of a triangular shape. Now that the land is nice and dried, I am going in with various colors of yellows and greens, and I am trying to distinct them as much as possible to create bushes and different plants. As you'll see here, me trying to dab it away and keep working on it. This is just a process of the same thing, kind of making distinct shapes and just going back and forth on it over and over again. Now, as you keep working, I tried doing this a little more random, but in front I was just trying to do more brighter colors like the reds, just to kind of make it stand out and not blend so much in with the background. So now I am going in with the same browns I did for the other, like when I was shaping out and defining the riverbanks. Same thing with this one. And two different browns to kind of darken up but also give it a little more depth. So now to define the riverbed, I am adding little strokes to define the river rocks along the shore, and I'm starting out with smaller strokes, and then I will be going into bigger strokes, and I'm trying to make them not as perfect and even and the same shape all the way through, because river rocks are not perfect. So I will be doing that, checking with you later. So what I'm doing now is working on the foreground river, and I'm doing, instead of doing a couple of steps, I'm just adding the green to the white right away, and just trying to blend the colors with the other portion of the river that I had already done. And what I'll be doing too is the corner is darker, so I'll be adding like browns and blacks to the corner to make it a little darker and make it, have a more appearance of moving around the bend. Alright, so as I did in the background, I am now adding small rocks to the river just to create the same effect and keep the flow of the river, using different types of browns and creating ovals with the paintbrush to make that rock effect. As you see here, I'm doing highlighting the rocks again to give them a top and make them more rock-like, and to 3D, make a 3D effect with them, same as I did with the previous rocks, and just add a little dimension to make them appear a little more realistic. As you see here, I'm taking the fan brush again and swirling the paint around to give ripples around the base of the rocks and throughout the rest of the river to get the appearance of a flowing stream. Now we're getting towards the end, so I am now working on painting the foreground trees. Right now I'm painting the one that's standing up, and I'm just doing this. I have, once again, a couple browns, and I'm kind of blending them together as I work along the trunk by dipping in a couple of colors. So I will do that, continue doing that, and so forth and so forth. Now I am working on the second tree. This one's dead, so to speak. And since it's angled, I decided to so I get the angle right and position right and start at the top, and I worked my way down to where it was. And I'll do this the same way I did with the other one by dipping in a couple of browns to get the right color. And I'll be working towards the base to make it more tree-like, so thicker at the bottom and it slims more at the top. And I'll be adjusting the base of the other tree also. Now I am now going in, making the tiny little branches that go off of the trees, and I'll do that just kind of sporadically and at different angles to give them appearance of going that they're around the tree instead of just straight out. Now that the trees are dry, I am now adding white to the left side of the trunk. The light appears to be coming from the left, so you want all the light source to be hitting on that side of the canvas or paper, whatever you're working on. It's figuring out your light source is important. Now that the trunks are done, I am going in and highlighting some of the branches. Like I said, the light source is coming in from the left, and that's where you want most of your light hitting those branches to give the right effect. So, like the background, I'm using a mixture of green, blue, black, and red in the paint, and I'm going with my sand brush and creating the branches of the tree, making them kind of sporadic there and not even. Although working with sand brush and watercolor is not the easiest thing to do, although I might have the wrong brush, I will admit that. So I just did my best, and it worked here and there, and just kept tapping back and forth till I was happy with the appearance. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking a mixture of yellow and peach mixed together to make the highlights, to give it like a warm kind of glow highlights on the branches and throughout the painting.
That was it. That's a lot. This video is a little longer. I'm sorry if you stuck around. Thank you so much and for sticking around. Here's the finished product. I think it turned out really well. Let's see if I can do side by side. book. And this is how this turned out. So, lessons learned. Thought this was going to be a quick painting. No. But I had fun doing it. I hope you're all practicing social distancing too. Keep others safe, wash your hands. I hope this brightened your day a little bit, relaxed you, background. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next Friday. Bye!